On today's ChurchTechCast.com Q&A show, more on Twitter, a small video system, and ATEM versus UltraStudio. Hi, and welcome again to the ChurchTechCast.com Q&A show. This is the show where every week I answer your church tech questions. My name is Paul Allen Clifford. I'm your host. Our first question today comes from Tony Greenfield via email, who said, "Hi, I'm 67 years old. I get computers, but I just don't get Twitter. Is there a place for us oldies to learn about Twitter without much hip language? Cheers, Tony from the UK." By the way, cheers to you. Spent a couple of weeks in the UK back in 1995 into 96. It was December into early January. So I have a fond place in my heart. I have a friend who's a missionary there actually as well. So when it comes to Twitter, you may or may not know that I've written a book on it. So if you want to go ahead and head over to Amazon, you can pick up a copy there, either a paperback or the Kindle version, either way, and read about it there. There's also a kind of a short series that I did on Twitter with my Tech Help for Churches show, and you can read it or watch that there as well. So basically, Twitter is a great place to meet new people, unlike Facebook, which is a great place to connect with people you already know. So that's the basic difference between Twitter and Facebook. Twitter also has much shorter amounts of words, so that may or may not be changing. We'll see. So that's just some of the basics, and you can hop into my book or hop into that series on the Tech Help for Churches show if you would prefer. Okay, Anthony Duran via email says, I was able to purchase 4 Blackmagic micro cinema cameras placed on a Bescor pan and tilt head, ran all the wire to a control room where we have the ATEM production studio 4K switcher. Decent, okay. A couple of computers for capturing the footage and controlling the cameras. The footage is hefty, so I'm currently working on editing the footage in an efficient way, plus training a group of volunteers to handle the ministry while I provide oversight and ongoing training. First, if you offer any insights you might have regarding this scenario I've just described, that would be greatly appreciated. So, great introductory system. I've known about the Bescor pan and tilt heads for quite some time, haven't used them. So I don't know how smooth they are, but as you're beginning, it could be that it doesn't matter as much. It could be that you get the shot, then you take the shot, as opposed to you do moving shots. Now, I believe that the Blackmagic micro cinema cameras do not have a motorized zoom on them, which would be a bit of a problem in your situation. So just keep that in mind. Ideally, you'd be able to zoom as well. That'll increase the amounts of shots that you can get exponentially. Right now you can pan, you can tilt, and that's pretty much it. So you've got a third dimension that you could be playing with. Right now it's 2 dimensions, left and right, up and down. And so there's only a finite amount of shots that you can do there. Now, you did talk about editing. I think, to me, what I would do is, instead of recording every camera isolated, what I would do is I would record live to tape, especially when you're talking about a church service. It's not like you're going to go back and redo things. So maybe what you do is you record an isolated feed of each of the cameras as much as possible, but you also want your switched video as a final product. That way you can be mostly done at the end of church. You know, maybe you chop off the beginning, chop off the end, maybe you put a slate in the beginning or an opening thing, something like that. But I would encourage you to avoid re-editing the whole thing if you can avoid it, because it's not going to take an hour if your church service is an hour long to do. It's going to take probably 4 or 5 hours at least, because you'll be going through and then you'll stop and then you'll rewind and then you'll make the cut and then you'll go through and then you'll stop and then you'll rewind and then you'll make the cut, etc. And then you'll realize, oh, I cut too late, so you have to go back and fix it. Probably 4 or 5 hours for every hour. If you're really good at it, you may be able to get it down to 2 or 3, but it's still a pretty beefy process. And take that from someone that used to, I used to edit our church's Saturday night service for use at a satellite campus on Sunday morning. So I had to immediately, when church ended, like there was this countdown timer going in my head, I would go and I would clip off the beginning and the end of the sermon. And at the time, our pastor, long-winded, and we didn't have as much time at the first service for the long-windedness. So sometimes I had to get creative with the editing. So sometimes it could be really fast if if let's say our transformation pastor, who's less long-winded, was speaking, but if our senior pastor was speaking, it could drag on for hours and hours. And you know, this started at 8 p.m., so it wasn't at all unusual for me to leave at midnight, and I did it for years. So I just thought, you know, it's no kind of suffering to be playing on a computer for the kingdom. There are people all over the world that would trade their actual suffering for me losing a little sleep. So that was no big deal, but if you can avoid it, avoid it. Next, WonderfulLins on YouTube says, "Hey Paul, I have a quick question. If I wanted to put my live feed on monitors in the foyer, what would be the best way to do that? Also, what's the difference between the Blackmagic ATEM and Blackmagic UltraStudio 4K? Okay, let me start with the last one. The UltraStudio 4K, I believe, is a playback device. It's either a recorder and playback or just a playback device. Either way, it's not a switcher. A switcher switches. So that doesn't do it. The ATEM, there is a 4K version of the ATEM, which initially I thought you were talking about. But on further looking, that's not it. The ATEM is in fact a video switcher. So that's the first thing. Secondly, you got that output. You just need to get it to the televisions. I'm going to assume that they're HD because it's 2016. If they're not HD, totally different. But let's just assume that they're HD. And if they are HD, then they will probably not have SDI on them unless you bought professional televisions, professional video monitors. You probably didn't do that, so that we're probably looking at HDMI. The ATEM, some of them have HDMI and, in fact, I think all of them have both HDMI and SDI. What I would do if I were you is I would send the SDI signal all the way there, split it out as many times as you need to with an HDMI, an SDI, serial digital interface, SDI distribution amplifier, and send that to the final destination and then convert it to HDMI. That's what I would do if I was in your situation, and you'll get a rock solid signal with just a single coax. Probably RG6 is what you want to look at. Well, I hope that helped you. I hope that was the answer to one of your questions, and if not, just leave it below the video. Now, if you're subscribed to the audio podcast or the video podcast, you can't leave it under the video. Just head over to trinitydigitalmedia.com. By the way, leave me some sort of reaction about how you like these videos, and then I can make it better. Now, if you like it just the way it is, fine, tell me that. If you think, Paul, you're a little long-winded, or you speak a little slowly, which I know, I'm working on it. Either way, just make sure you leave that comment and we can talk. Until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com. Go out and change eternity.